Getting robbed in the hood is very common. So it's kind of like whenever people talk about getting robbed, they talk about it in passing and they're just like, oh yeah, I got robbed when I was 15. That's usually how I explain it. And people were like, wait, what? And I'm just like, well, yeah. And I just kind of like laugh it off. This is honestly the first time that I really sit down and explain detail by detail, emotion by emotion, what I was feeling when I got robbed when I was 15 for the first time. The reason why I wasn't really able to speak about this before, because I still hadn't really registered the kind of trauma that had happened to me. And I feel like talking about something like this can be extremely humiliating, humbling, and just like disempowering altogether. Like nobody wants to talk about a time that something happened to them and they couldn't do shit about it really. My mom was very protective, not sheltering. I was not a sheltered child. There's a very big difference. My mom taught me about drugs and sex and everything that was going on around the neighborhood. You know, the eastern part of Harlem being one of the places that struggled a lot with sex trafficking, with drugs, drug addiction. We got the methadone clinics after the whole crack epidemic and all the opioids like heroin. And you know, when a lot of that went away, now Harlem went from being zombie land to being called K2 Fifth or K2 Island because of the drug that used to be called synthetic marijuana, which is now K2. So my mom taught me about all these different things in a way to avoid all these things. And she did a pretty good job at it because thankfully I was never in a gang. I was never in a situation where I sold drugs, but my mom used to always be hung up about me coming home late, and I would have to be home before 6 p.m. until I was about maybe 18 years old. We used to hear gunshots outside our building at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we really did not live in that much of a safe neighborhood. But when I got robbed, it was like I got robbed in broad daylight at 3 p.m. on an extremely sunny day in like September, October. The iPhone 4 had just come out. And I was hanging out with 3 friends. We would call one D, the other one M, and the other one J. It was D, M, and J. I was filming a bunch of parkour stuff. We was in Central Park, just having a blast, you know. Then we came back uptown and we was ready to call it a day. But M was like, yo, I want to play ball in Jefferson. D was not with it. D was like, I want to get home. I'm tired. We've been out all day. It's 3 p.m. We kind of been out since like 9 a.m. I'm trying to just get home and eat. So D left. D was a smart one in that situation. These dudes was talking about going to Jeff. Now, Jeff was the projects. It was in the hood, but it wasn't as bad as Wagner, where I went to school, where like as soon as you walked in Wagner, you would hear if you had on a Mermot coat or you had on the new Jordans or they saw you with like a new phone or something. People was always pressing you if they didn't know who you was. So anyway, fast forward, D is out the picture. Now it was just M and J and myself, and we go and we playing some basketball for a little bit. And now I'm kind of tired after we played like one good game of 21. These 3 random dudes come into the park. It was a dark-skinned guy. There was a guy that was kind of tall and lanky like me and my skin complexion, and another guy who I honestly don't remember how he looks at all. The dark-skinned guy was the quietest one, and it was the light-skinned kid. The light-skinned kid was like, yo, what's up? Y'all want to play 3-on-3? It was good. And already I'm feeling kind of sketchy because I'm like, nah, I don't know these kids from a hole in the wall. And you know, in the hood, sometimes basketball games get intense. I don't know how competitive these guys are. So I was like, nah, to be honest, I'm tired. I'll just wait for y'all. Y'all could play 21 or something, and I'ma just wait for y'all to finish. I told M and J that I would just be sitting down waiting for them so that we could leave. And I was already trying to be out. We were supposed to leave after one game, but M and J was like, nah, let's stay for longer. We just gonna play one more game with these cats and then we out of here. They can have the court. So whatever, I sit my ass down. So I get a call from my mom's and she's telling me to come home. So I get my ass up and I noticed that the dark-skinned dude started to walk to also sit down. And then M and J started playing 2-on-2 with the cats that was left. So as I'm leaving the court in Jefferson Park, mind you, there's kids everywhere, there's people all over the place, super public. It was nothing creepy, nothing crazy. It wasn't even nighttime like the way I had put in my film. That film of nighttime was just, you know, a stylistic effect to make you feel that ominous feeling. But really, it was broad daylight. Like, you wouldn't even expect something like this to happen. Like, I look at my phone, I had a missed call from D. I tried to call him back, he was not picking up. All right, whatever, put my phone in my pocket, I start walking. I get like halfway down the block and I hear, "You're." I did promise you're not trying to hear "you're." This was before the whole "you're" thing was popularized to be like some kind of cool greeting in New York meme comedy. Like, "you're" was not a term of endearment you was trying to hear when you was walking down the block. And so I turn around, but at this time I'm 15 years old, and since I've never been involved in no kind of gang violence and stuff, I still wasn't that street smart yet. So I see the dark skin coming up behind me. He's jogging. He's jogging to me, the weirdest thing ever. And he's like, "Yo, what's up?" And he gives me like this handshake, and it's just like, just super weird. Like, I just saw you in the basketball court. Why are you giving me another handshake? And something is off. Like, it's just intuition in my head that is just like, is this dude trying to like hit me or something? Like, I'm looking at his other hand when he gave me a pound, because I'm thinking like he's gonna try to hit me with the other hand or something. Just that hood anxiety in my mind. Again, we don't know these kids from a hole in the wall. Like, I know the dude's name, know nothing. So he's like, "What's up, bro? Why you leaving?" And I'm like, "I'm dead going home to my grandma's house, I promise you." He was like, "Oh, where your grandmother live?" He's like, "Oh, where your grandmother live?" I'm like, "Right here, but on the east side." He was like, "Oh, word? I dead live in the same direction, so let me walk with you." I'm like, "Alright, whatever, boom." Mind you, this is not like a movie where you know something's gonna happen because like, hey, it's a movie. This is just like everyday life. So it was just some dude you met in the park, and sometimes, hey, it could have just been some dude that was just walking with me or just being friendly. But we did in the hood, we in Jefferson, like, you gotta side-eye everything. So boom, we walk in, and he's like, "Yo, what's your name?" And I said, "Jeffrey." He's like, "Oh, you look like this nigga named Jose. You sure that's not you?" I'm like, "The fuck you mean am I sure?" That's if I'm not Jose. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I'm dead Jeffrey. Why would I be Jose?" First of all, what type of stereotypical shit is that? Did he just like look at me and say, "Oh, look, Spanish looking guy, so I'm gonna just call him Jose"? So now we turn the corner, we waiting for the light, and this dude, like, he looks nervous, like he looks really weird. Like, I'm just here wondering what the hell is going on. I'm not even nervous or scared or nothing. He's the one that looks like a first-time terrorist, wondering if the button's gonna work when he pushed the button for the bomb to go off or something. And so he starts projecting this nervousness on me. He was like, "Oh, you ain't gotta be scared or nothing." He was like, "Nah, cause I got jumped this other day by these dudes," and he was like Spanish or Mexican or something. I was like, "Was it Patria?" Because, you know, in the hood, there was mad different, like, little sub-gangs. Like, you know, you had the Trinitarios, the Patria, you had a lot of different gangs. He was like, "Nah, I don't know what kind of gang he was in. All I know is it was some Spanish dudes, and you look like one of the niggas that was with him." He was like, "Them niggas stabbed me. Look, right here." I promise you, I ain't see nothing. He literally was just bullshitting, and I'm just like, damn, that's crazy. I ain't even look at it. I'm just bullshitting myself at this point. Like, I don't know what this guy's trying to do. I don't know if he's trying to rob me or if he's trying to kill me or to get revenge because he really thinks I'm this other guy. But it sounds like he's making this shit up. Why does he have to make up this whole weird scenario in my head just to rob me? So we keep walking. Again, broad daylight, people walking past and everything. We stop at a traffic light, and I'm sitting there contemplating whether I should take a cab, because this is really an uncomfortable situation at this point. So we get to a traffic light, and we just standing there, and he's super quiet, again, looking real nervous, like looking ahead, not looking me in my eye, like just trying to figure out what he's gonna say next. And he's like, "Yo, you sure you not one of them niggas? Because if anything, I got the ratty on me right now." Like, if he was like, and I was just like, what? I was like, first of all, I'm not in no gang. I'm dead a church boy. I literally said that to him. Literally told this nigga, I'm dead a church boy. I dead have church today at 7 p.m. So he starts projecting this nervous behavior he got going on, saying, he's like, "Nah, you don't gotta be scared or nothing, cause I got the ratty on me right now. If anything, I could have been blowing your head off, you feel me? But I'm not trying to hurt somebody that ain't have nothing to do with it, you feel me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I feel you, that's crazy, but I really don't know what you talking about." And at this point, like, I've already had dissociative issues my entire childhood. So at this point, I'm like very numb to the situation. Like, this guy is like, now I'm a victim of assault with a deadly weapon. Because he's telling me he got the ratty on him. The ratty or the hammer is a gun. For those of y'all that don't know that Harlem lingo. A ratty, a ratchet, the hammer, the grip. Now, I had already been a martial artist since I was 5 years old. And so I was able to kind of take myself out of my body and not react on impulse by like trying to run or by trying to like fight right away. I'm just trying to analyze to see where the gun is at, to see what hand he's gonna use to take it out his pocket. And something on my mind is like, does this dude really have a gun? Is he bluffing? Is it worth the risk if he isn't bluffing? I'm just like, what the hell does this guy want? Does he really think that I'm actually a gang member? Or is he just using this as some whole kind of like plot to like get my new iPhone 4 because people was robbing iPhones at the time? It's like, if you didn't want to get robbed, don't get an iPhone, don't get a Mermont coat, don't get any kind of Jordans or pennies or Pradas. I'm like, nah, it wasn't me. He was like, all right, I'm just trying to make sure. And then he's just quiet. We still just walking in silence. And so we cross the street, and now we in Jefferson, like the heart of Jefferson, where the actual buildings are and not the park. And while we walking, he's like, yo, you got the time? That already I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to take my phone. It's like, come on. And if he was trying, and I could tell that this had to be some kind of initiation or something, because this guy was nervous. It looked like it was his first time doing this. And it took him this long to ask me, yo, you got the time? It's like he was trying to use all these different tactics to try to like manipulate me, just to use the most cliche term of all in the hood, do you got the time? So at this point, I can't lie and say my phone is off or I don't got my phone, because he's seen me with my phone. He's seen me pick up the call earlier and try to call my mans, D. So I'm just like, 4:14. I remember the time. It was around that time. It was around like 4:15, around that time. And I put the phone back in my pocket. He's like, all right. He still don't say nothing. I'm just like, so what really is going on here? But we pass by and we see one of his mans to the left, sitting on one of the project benches with like 2-3 other people, and he's like, yo, what's good, blah blah blah. So we in his hood, and he's like, yo, you boosting mine, yo, you boosting mine. He was like, what? He was like, yo, you blowing mines right now. Like if he was like kind of like interrupting his flow of like his come up or something. And so I'm like, this dude is trying to do something. This has to be like either some kind of initiation. I had seen before in Jeff some kid that was maybe in like middle school in his school uniform that was like, you know, he wasn't gang affiliated, nothing. It was just some kid walking. Like it started off with 2 dudes trying to get his phone, and I saw this all from outside my window. 2 dudes is trying to get his phone. He's like, nah, and trying to get away from them. And like 50 dudes came out the projects like roaches, all just started beating the shit out of this little kid. And these was grown ass men beating on some little ass middle schooler. Like it was so many people, like you could see from Johnson projects outside your window and see all of the people like hitting this kid, and this old ass dude had to come and be like, yo, leave him alone, to try to get the kid, and he like walked the kid home. And it's like 50 of y'all niggas dead can't split a phone. Like obviously they're not robbing this kid because they actually need money or because they're struggling to survive. Like if you're struggling to survive and the first thing you're trying to rob is an iPhone 4, then you're doing a pretty shitty job. You know, people did these kind of things in the hood for initiation to kind of prove their toughness to other gang members and whatnot. So this guy that's here with me putting in all of this effort to get a damn iPhone that's screen locked, that he knows is gonna be screen locked, and that by the time he jailbreaks and sells it to someone else, he's gonna sell it for like $50. Obviously, he's not doing it for the money. There's some kind of other motive going on here. And so now I see that his mans is there. He got people on the block. So now it's like, I'm stupid as hell if I really try to fight this dude right now if he tries something, because then I'm going to just be like that other kid, and now I'm going to not have my phone and I'm going to be beat up. So it's a lose-lose situation here. And this dude is talking about he got the ratty on him. Does he really have the ratty? Is $200 worth trying to find out? So we walking. He's quiet. Finally, he's like, yo, let me see that. And he goes in my pocket and takes the phone. Still like, never made any kind of eye contact with me. And you know, I made sure to display this in the film accurately because I wanted people to to see this new spin on what it means to be robbed in the hood, and not just that stereotypical catch you in the alleyway with a gun like, run all your shit, nigga. But because, you know, most of the time it's really not happening like that. Like one time my mans was on his bike and they just came up to him and two dudes on either side held his bike like this and was like, yo, you did it for this bike. Like, you could either walk off or you could try to fight, but we get in his bike. And what did he do? He just got off the bike and he walked his ass home. What is he gonna do? You know, it's really that simple. You got headphones in, dudes will come and be like, yo, what you listening to? Oh, that's fire. Let me see this, bro. Oh, good looks. And you know, they do it so nonchalantly in this weird non-confrontational way to the point where they do this in broad daylight and you spaz out and you start fighting this dude. It look like you the one that's the crazy one that's attacking the person right now. So yeah, he basically took the phone out of my pocket and I'm like, I thought you said you wasn't gonna do nothing to somebody that ain't have nothing to do with it. He was like, nah, it's quiet for that. He was like, you lucky I don't do nothing else because you look just like one of them niggas that was with them that day. It was just a really weird experience because it's like, did this dude like really like make a whole story to kind of justify in his brain what he's doing so that it doesn't get to his conscience? Because this cat looked like he was maybe about 20 years old, 19 youngest. I was 15 years old. We kind of dehumanize people that rob and steal in the ghetto to where we think they just like these soulless bastards that come take shit without wincing. But like this dude basically just created a whole story to try to fool himself into not feeling guilty about it. Like, oh, this dude looks like he's in a rival gang, so I'ma take his shit. He was like, and don't snitch, I know where you live. And it's like, first of all, what I'm gonna tell the cops? Hey, this black guy stole my phone. Oh yeah, we hear that story every day here in Harlem. People were getting robbed left and right. He was like, get out of here, don't let me see you around here anymore. And so I'm walking away and he's like, run. And I'm kind of just like, you know, kind of triggered at this point, and my dissociation is kind of just like making everything feel very far away. And it's like I'm just watching myself stare at this guy from across the street, and we're just like frozen in time. And so I'm just walking, but I'm walking backwards while looking at him. And he runs away. He like jogs, does that same jog he did when he came to me. It was super weird. You know, now I'm walking, trying to like figure, like trying to put myself back into reality. Like, yo, this shit is like really happening. This isn't a dream. What are you gonna do? I should call my mom. Wait, I don't have my phone. So I go to my grandma's house, knocking on my grandma's door. Nobody's in my grandma's door. And then I'm like, well, shit, if I leave my grandma's house, I could run into the same dude because this was just like blocks away. Or what if he watched me go to my grandma's house? So now I'm like trying to figure out a way to leave through like a back entrance or something. And I basically like, I think I might have taken a cab home if I remember correctly. Like, it's kind of a blur as to what happened after I left my grandma's house. I just remember being in front of my mom's, in front of the door, and she came to open the door for me, and I said, she was like, I was calling you. I said, they took my phone, they robbed my phone. And she was like, what? I was like, I got robbed for my phone. And it's like, when I told her this, like I was mad at myself and like felt guilty because she was like, oh, I bought you this phone. You know, she just bought me that phone like 2 months before. She hadn't even paid it off yet. Like, it was the damn iPhone 4. So it's like, damn, there's no other way to explain that. I'm like, some guy told me he had a gun and he told me to give him the phone, so I gave him the phone. She was like, but you were right, they didn't hit you, they didn't do nothing. I was like, nah, they didn't do nothing. She was like, all right, well, that's what matters. But it's like, see what I mean? This is why you should have just came home. You shouldn't be in those parts of the neighborhood. Or the irony of the situation was my mom didn't want me out late at night, and I got robbed in broad daylight in the most non-confrontational way ever. It kind of took me a while to register the fact that I'm dead ass a victim of assault. Like, if you rob somebody with a fake gun, that's still like assault with a deadly weapon. My first means of coping with this, of course, with my maladaptive daydreaming was just like constantly replaying the thing over and over in my head. Like, what if I would have just like Krav Maga his shit and like kicked him in the nuts and just dipped? Or what if I just would have went like even super hard and like went on some Wing Chun shit, double strike to the balls on the throat and then grabbed him and just kneed him real quick? Or what if I just like never went in the first place? Or what if I could have just like taken a cab right there when he told me that I look like some nigga named Jose? You know, all these what ifs going through my mind. Like what if I see him again? That's when I made my first film called My Way. And it became a web series, and it was about these two brothers that get robbed and they want to go take revenge for themselves because they know that the cops won't do anything about it. And so this was originally supposed to be a revenge story and turned into something was like, spoiler alert, the guy that robbed them was actually set up by his brother. It's probably subconsciously came from the fact that I did get robbed by my older brother for like my PSP and my money and my Xbox 360. That's a whole nother story. But then later on, I decided to make this other film that you guys have been looking at. That's called The Initiate. The first and a half act of the film is almost a line by line recounting of what actually happened. The Initiate was more of me trying to rationalize how this person robbing me had felt. You know, I've always felt like pissed at myself, like, how could I let somebody do that to me? I could have did this and that. I'm a martial artist, and maybe I should walk around with a gun, maybe I should walk around with a knife. But it's like, the fact that I'm a martial artist probably saved my life that day. Because I remember my sensei told me, he said, you're supposed to fight for your life, not for a phone, not for a car, not for money. Somebody comes up to you with a knife or a gun and they say, give me everything you got. You give them everything you got. Because at the end of the day, if you could live to see another day to work for those things back for yourself, then you Gucci. I'm probably 10 times better off than the dude that robbed me, who's probably dead or in jail somewhere, while I'm here living to tell the story and monetizing this shit on YouTube. I really hope that he's not dead or in jail somewhere, and I hope that he turned his life around. You a grown-ass man robbing high schoolers, and there's nowhere to go but up from there, to be honest. This situation has made me extremely anxious. Like, a lot of people say that people from the hood are very street smart, but what it is anxiety. A lot of people would like to glorify this kind of hood mentality of not letting somebody betray you and always like having a side eye on all your friends and whatnot and constantly like being on edge, ready to fight. But that's dead anxiety. You know, anxiety and depression takes many different forms. It can take the form of anger. It could take the form of wrath. It could take the form of sadness, which is what we usually stereotypically think of. But a lot of times in the hood, it's like, it's a defense mechanism to be angry or to be on edge all the time. You know, like, I had a fan one day, I'm walking to Union Square, and a lot of people, like, they know that I'm intelligent and I speak a lot of political things, but they forget that I'm from the hood. And so this dude comes in Union Square, he taps me like that, super hard, like, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? And that's literally, I'm like, what the fuck? And he was like, yo, Almonte, big fan. I was just like, and I just kept walking, because it's like, you know, like, and it's probably a number of times where people were like, had an interaction with me and they probably like, oh, this kid's an asshole because I wasn't like, you know, smiling all in their face. But it's just like, they don't think about the fact that every day someone going on my shoulder in the hood could mean the end of my life. And it truly sucks that it has to be this way, because probably about like 9 out of 10 of the people that I know in the hood have an experience with getting robbed or getting jumped. And it just sucks that we have that to share. Like, we have culture to share. That's great. But to sit down and like know that I'm not alone in this, that this is not something that just happened to me, that this is something that happens every day to like a lot of different people, like, that's trash, my nigga. That's not a good feeling to think about. It's like, just to know that it's just this never-ending cycle of this dog-eat-dog world where it feels like there's no kind of life outside the block. Where, like, you know, the day that I make it, you know, even on Wall Street, even in the most nicest gentrified areas, I still, like, always feel like I'm gonna be attacked, whether it be psychologically or physically. Like, you know, in my relationships and even romance, it's just like I'm always side-eyeing what people are doing and what people are saying. Like, it's like, I love you, I'm sure. What you trying to get out of me? You know, every time somebody calls me bro now, that shit triggers me, because that dude told me, oh, what's good, bro? I hate hearing that word, son. Like, even with my closest friends, Genzo and Eric, I'd be like, it just be weird, like, hearing them call me bro sometimes, because it just puts me back in that place. And I wondered for a long time why I don't like being called bro. And it's just really those like simple little shit. I don't even like the sun. I don't really like being outside. I don't really like being outside in the summertime when it's like beaming light on me. And that's why I lost color. Like, I'm not even as brown as I used to be, because I'm like indoors. I only come outside when it's like overcasted and cloudy and shit, because everything from that day just reminds me of how powerless I felt. And hindsight is 2020. You know, you could look at this and be like, oh, I would have did this, I would have did that, but you never know what you're going to do until you're in that moment. Because everybody talks about fight or flight, but nobody talks about freeze. And freeze is something that biologically happens in humans, or you even see it in possums when they play dead on the side of the road. It's like when you see a predator, you have to your nervous system has to decide very quickly on what is going to keep you alive. Not what's going to protect your ego, not what's going to make you feel good later on, but what's going to keep you alive at this very moment. Even if you living through trauma for the rest of your life, it still prioritizes your heart beating at that second. It's a beautifully disgusting thing. You see this with victims of sexual assault as well, where it's like, if I fight back, will he kill me? If I run away, will he catch up? Your mind makes that 0.5 second analysis. Oh, this guy looks like he runs faster than me, so I can't run. So maybe if I sit here and just let him do whatever he wants, I'll be okay at the end of the day. You know, my mind had collected all that data in that instance where it's like, okay, so all his homies was there, you saw them, they on this very block. You fight back, they gonna come back, either beat you to death, you're gonna get stabbed, or you're gonna get shot if he got the ratty on him. You probably could beat him. You could probably beat up 3 of them niggas, but you can't beat up 50 niggas. Hell, you can't even beat up 5 niggas. And you know, all those things that I learned in martial arts too is just stay calm, stay cool, stay collected. Self-defense starts in the mind, you know, and I've had to just accept that and just let that go, that is what was supposed to happen that day. That there's no ifs, ands, or buts, there's no what ifs to contemplate, to stop fantasizing and living in that moment. Because to be honest, like, the anger that I have built up over the years, even to this day, like, I feel like if that shit happened again, I would have probably did something stupid and probably try to fight. I would have probably did something stupid. You know, so many crazy things happen in the hood that we see like instances like this and we just like become desensitized to it. We don't really talk about it. We don't really talk about how it made us feel. It's just something that happened. We don't ever look at how we act today as being influenced by any of these little things that happen to us. Because in a way, we don't want the sins that were committed against us to define who we are. And I'm not defined by what happened to me. But the first step to really getting over trauma is awareness and being honest with yourself on how that's influenced you later on in life. Then you can start to unpack all of that trauma. You can't just put that shit under the rug and act like this thing didn't affect you in any kind of way. Because a lot of these gangster niggas they're fronting. A lot of these gangster niggas is just fronting. A lot of these gangster niggas is hurt as hell, traumatized as hell, and they really can't afford to sit down and talk about their feelings. And I'm not talking about afford like money. I'm talking about affording this like time and the energy, and also how you look doing something like this, talking about how getting robbed made you feel. People gonna think you buns. People gonna think you emotional, that you light skinned. It's just power politics. You know, I've been a writer my whole life, but I think what made me really do film was the fact that I got robbed. And I have to be honest with the fact that if I didn't get robbed, I probably wouldn't be doing film right now. I probably would be doing music, playing in a band somewhere, maybe writing books, writing songs. But people ask me what made me want to do film, and it's not some cute little story about me watching The Dark Knight Rises. It's not some cute little story of me binge watching a bunch of Quentin Tarantino movies and seeing how edgy he was for using nigger over and over again. Quentin Tarantino has great movies, by the way, no shade. But this film shit is not for fake. It's not something that I just picked up as a hobby. It's not something that I did for cool points or to... When I brag to myself, because I really am gonna be the most influential writer and cinematographer of the 21st century. And this power that I have is incredible to me because I can reimagine my entire life. All of those daydreams I had as a kid, all of those times that I felt far from the world because I couldn't consume reality, I can just repaint it into this version that I'm more comfortable with living in and can be higher functioning just by repainting this new story for myself. I know it's kind of dark, but don't be sad, because at the end of the day, it's Eastside. It's Eastside all day. Harlem repping.
Hold up. Before you go, if you are an artist that has a personal story to tell, make sure you contact us at TheAlmonteFilms@gmail.com. If you would like to see more of The Nexus, consider contributing just $1 to our patreon.com/TheAlmonteFilms. Every little bit helps, including you sharing this with a person that may need to hear this. Have a safe day, and I'll see you on the other side at The Nexus.